A strange thing happens when you start learning about money. At first, it feels empowering. You watch a few videos about investing, maybe read an article about saving, and suddenly the world of finance doesn't feel so mysterious anymore. You start recognizing terms like compound interest, index funds, passive income. Conversations about money begin to make more sense. And naturally, you start to believe something important is about to change. You think, if I finally understand how money works, things should start getting better. But then a few weeks pass, sometimes a few months, and strangely, your financial life still looks almost the same. Your paycheck arrives and somehow disappears faster than expected. Bills show up right on schedule, groceries cost what they cost, rent doesn't care how many finance videos you watched last night. You might save a little here and there, but it doesn't quite match the feeling those videos gave you. And at some point, a quiet question starts forming in the back of your mind. If I know all this stuff about money, why does it still feel like nothing is really changing? This is where a lot of people start doubting themselves. They assume the problem must be discipline or motivation, or maybe they just haven't learned enough yet. But the truth is much simpler and much more human. Learning about money and actually building wealth are two very different things. Most financial education focuses on information. It teaches you what compound interest is, why saving matters, how investing works over long periods of time, and those ideas are valuable. But there's an assumption hidden inside most financial advice. The assumption is that once people understand money, they'll automatically start behaving differently. And human behavior rarely works that way. Think about something completely unrelated to money for a moment. Most people already know what healthy eating looks like. They know vegetables are good for them, exercise improves their health, and sleep matters more than we like to admit. But knowing those things doesn't automatically turn them into habits, because habits don't form in quiet, logical moments. They form in real life, when you're tired after work, when you're stressed, when convenience feels more appealing than discipline. Money decisions happen in those same moments, not when you're calmly watching a finance video on a Sunday afternoon, but on a random Wednesday night when your brain is already tired and your day has been long. That's when you decide whether to cook or order food, whether to save or spend, whether to delay a purchase or click buy now. And in those moments, knowledge often takes a back seat to emotion. This is why someone can understand investing perfectly and still struggle to invest consistently, or understand budgeting but feel exhausted trying to follow one. Because knowledge lives in your head, money habits live in your daily routine, and routines are powerful. Imagine two people who know the exact same things about personal finance. They both understand saving, investing, and the importance of long-term thinking. But their daily systems are slightly different. The first person plans to save whatever money is left at the end of the month. They mean well. They fully intend to do it. But by the time the month ends, life has already claimed most of the paycheck. Rent, food, small expenses, a few unexpected things. Nothing dramatic, just normal life. The second person does something small but important. When their paycheck arrives, a portion quietly moves somewhere else before they even have time to think about spending it. Maybe it goes to savings, maybe to an investment account. Not a huge amount, just something consistent. And over time, that small difference starts creating a bigger one. Not because one person is smarter, but because one person built a system that works, even on busy or stressful days. This is the turning point most people eventually discover. Wealth isn't usually built through moments of financial brilliance. It's built through small systems that quietly repeat themselves over time. Automatic saving, consistent investing, spending habits that slowly align with long-term priorities instead of short-term emotions. None of this feels exciting. In fact, it often feels boring. But boring systems create stability, and stability allows time to do its work. Because time is what gives concepts like compound interest their real power, not the idea itself, but the consistency behind it. So when people feel stuck financially, the answer isn't usually learning 10 new financial strategies. Sometimes it's asking a simpler question. Instead of asking, "What else should I learn about money?" it can be more helpful to ask, "What small system could make one financial decision easier this month?" Maybe it's automatically saving a small percentage of your income. Maybe it's separating your spending money from your long-term money so the two don't compete every week. Maybe it's simply slowing down certain purchases and giving yourself a little space before deciding. None of these changes are dramatic, but over time, small structural changes reshape behavior, and behavior, repeated over years, quietly reshapes financial outcomes. When people look at someone who seems financially stable, they often assume that person understands money better than everyone else. But most of the time, the difference isn't knowledge, it's structure. Few habits, few systems, a few decisions that became automatic instead of emotional. So if your financial life hasn't changed as quickly as you hope after learning about money, that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It probably just means you're still in the part where knowledge is turning into routine. And that part takes time, because progress with money rarely feels dramatic in the moment. It usually feels slow, quiet, almost invisible. But slowly, the gap between knowing about money and actually building wealth begins to close. Not because you discovered a secret, but because your everyday behavior finally started working in your favor. And over the long run, that quiet shift matters far more than any financial theory ever could.